there, this is Liz Wright from sunny Cape Town, South Africa, and today I'm going to be doing a colour and chat from the Such and Such Diva stained glass Tiffany windows. It's a nice black background, colour by number, easy colour, so I thought it's a good one to do while I'm chatting away. I've done one picture in the book so far and I've marked down the colours I used. I will be using my Ohuhu markers in this and perhaps some gel pens for the little butterflies in the center of the stained glass. So I'm just looking for the first color and it's not actually marked down here. So I've got some of them marked, and the first color I need is, oh, I'm really struggling to get this paper to lay down flat. The trouble with the black backgrounds is that they do tend to curl a little bit. So the first color I need is a gray, and I think it's number 19 there. And I'm just going to look on my swatch chart to see if I can find a nice color. Just want to see if I can find one. I think I've got one now. And so to now actually find the color I want in my set, this is the Ohuhu Brush Markers 72 set, which I really love. But I will say that using the brush markers on this paper is eating up the tips a little bit. So I just need to mark this now on my color swatch chart in the book, because it does make it so much easier when one's coloring in the color by numbers to actually have the numbers marked down. I get a little bit confused when I record. I have an app on my phone and I record the videos. It always seems to cut out the right hand side, and yet when I look at what's showing on the screen as I'm recording, it's actually okay. So I do need to make a note to make sure that I get the whole picture in future. So just marking that down, and then I'm going to start coloring this background. I wanted to chat today about embracing the journey we're on. So this actually made me think quite a lot today, because I was so delighted to have actually reached my 1,000 subscribers and then got my 4,000 hours and everything. And I've loved the journey of being on YouTube. The same thing amounts to, I've loved my journey of coloring. I've loved the journey of making the friends, and same thing with my singing journey. I loved the journey. I often, in singing, enjoyed rehearsal period more than an actual performance. So when we look at our lives, every day is full of new challenges, and we sometimes wonder how to face them. So we're all so different, and if you're a goal-oriented kind of person, you look for eventual success. If you take that into your coloring, you maybe, if you're like me, you look at the crummy piece you turned out and you see some most incredible, fantastic artistic effort somebody else has done, and you're wondering how you're going to get there, and you lay out some steps and work to get there. So working towards a goal may seem successful at first, but it doesn't take into account what we learn along the way, or how the right mindset as you go impacts the outcome of the end. So if you consider, when you switch your mindset to think more about how you embrace the journey, we can see the more and the most genuine success. Let's look at why this is. There are three, I think there are three very key truths to this. Life can change and does change without warning. You already know this. I already know this. If you're like most people, you've already had your fair share of last-minute absolute disasters, be this in art, be this in life, be this in whatever. Cooking. Remember your vacation, your holiday, which was spoiled entirely by everybody being sick. As a matter of interest, my honeymoon was ruined. I got the most terrible tummy bug, and I spent my entire honeymoon vomiting and in the bathroom and in bed for the wrong reasons. And my poor new hubby had to bring me home for my mom to help me nurse and get better. I was so very sick. So that was not the plan, and that was not the goal. We've also had those occasions where a sudden out-of-town guest just shows up at the worst possible time or asks to come. So the problem with being goal-oriented is you're very rarely prepared when the unexpected happens. But if you're someone who embraces the journey, your experience is going to be very, very different. By living in the moment, this is really the thing, and I think this is where meditation and mindfulness and all of that has become such a popular thing lately. So by living in the moment, you're more able to go with the flow. You know how to adapt and to adjust to interruption. You're also more prepared to let go of the original goal and to set a new one. And so then that's a little bit calmer. I have a case in point at the moment. I was so excited about my YouTube channel, and I had this plan that I was going to try and do 3 or even maybe 4 videos a week because I'm excited by it. I love the fact that a community is starting to build. I love it. I have some people that email me. Others of you leave wonderful comments, and I really love that. I love the interaction with people. And but yet I'm totally delighted. I have my son coming to visit from overseas with his wife and 2 little children under 3 years old. And so they're going to be staying in the room that I use for filming and for painting and for everything. So I'm obviously not going to be able to do that. So I decided to try and attempt 2 videos a week and just to be regular with that. And I'll let you guys know what's happening and when they come. And if that doesn't work, it might go down for 2 months to 1 video a week. But the blessing of having my family with me is so great that I'm not even going to allow myself to worry. I'm just going to revel in having family with me. So it's easy to miss out. There's nothing sadder than lost opportunities and also failed relationships. If you kind of fixated on the future, which really does happen often when you're goal-oriented, you aren't present in the moment. There we are at our being in the moment again. This means you might be hesitating when you discover a new opportunity, thinking you should finish the old challenge before starting a new one. And the problem with this is the new might not stick around long enough to come back to it. But the worst aspect of goal-oriented behavior is it becomes too easy to make sacrifices to get ahead. And this usually translates to time lost with either your significant other or your children or family in general. And I think one has to decide if you can live with this or not, if this is something you want. So that's another thing. And then you need to think about what is worthwhile. It's not about our bank accounts. Of course, when we're looking at the goal, we're going to fixate on an outcome. So keeping score in the only way which makes sense in the power of dollars and cents. So when you embrace a journey, you understand mindfulness and the joy in every moment. You know the best things are what you savor about every day. You enjoy the people around you and the new adventures. Life isn't measured in your bank account, but by your happiness. And I think that becomes more and more real with COVID and all the challenges that we are facing at present. But there are so many glorious moments. For me, living in the Southern Hemisphere with summer at the moment and little animals there. We have guinea fowl, and they're hatching new babies all the time. And I had a swim the other day, and just excuse me a minute. I'm sorry, I had a bit of a frog in my throat. I was swimming the other day, and when I climbed into the water, I hadn't realized the guinea fowl were on their walk around the garden with the babies, and they screamed at me. It was really funny. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to say about being goal-oriented. And another thing that I want to talk about just now is some tips for better and healthier boundaries in our lives. Meantime, I'm going to get back to chatting about this coloring. I've nearly finished this one color. I do find it quite tricky coloring with alcohol markers on this Amazon paper. I love it because it's quick, it's a solid color, it looks bright, it looks cheerful, and I can get a picture done in a day, which for me is such a bonus. But it's difficult because the color bleeds out. These ones with the black borders are much nicer. Well, not necessarily nicer, but easier in that you can go a little bit out of the border. But I with the white background ones, I go around the edges with a metallic pen or something afterwards. I must say, you'll see in a minute or two that it's a bit of a strange color combination for this outside pattern or background. I'm not quite sure. Not entirely sure I like it, but never mind. Chatting about borders makes me think of boundaries and thinking about the fact that we all have boundaries. Maybe you don't feel like you do because of times past when people have kind of overrun you. Somewhere around the umpteenth time of being taken advantage of or of being ignored about your own needs and treated as though your time's not valuable, you start to believe you've lost whatever boundaries you had. Good news is you can create your boundaries and make them stronger and healthier than ever before. So let's look at some ways you can do that. I'm just going to speed up the rest of the coloring of this background while I chat. So one of the things you can do is you can allow yourself to start over. That sounds pretty obvious, but there are quite a few reasons for it. Start firstly by telling yourself it's okay to set boundaries. You're declaring that you're important enough even to have them. But also in acknowledging that it's okay to start over, you're not getting hung up on the past. That gives you the chance to take control, and so embrace that chance. So the next thing is one really does need to pay attention. You need to get into the details of who you are and who you want to be, and how have people taken advantage of you in the past. Where have you wished that you had set some boundaries? What do you need to do to establish them now? Be mindful of your feelings and look for the disappointment and anger. What set those off? Chances are those are places where the boundaries need the most work. You'll find that self-awareness is key to your success, so don't be too afraid to dig into your emotions. It's always so much easier to see things in somebody else, but to actually notice them in yourself it takes some work. I did a little exercise once of trying to see somebody that came to the door as if for the first time. And it was really interesting to sort of see how I reacted. And I think the thing with setting boundaries as well is to remember to use I messages, like perhaps it's a family member or someone that doesn't like your coloring or your artwork, or you've left your crayons or pencils on the couch or the table and they're irritated with you. A good thing is to sort of set I messages and say things like, I understand you're irritated that there's a mess. I find myself feeling hurt when you raise your voice to me. It would be so much nicer if you just asked me nicely, please. So you know, try to use I messages. So then the next thing is to look at where you are now and where you've been. Chances are a lot of what you feel about boundaries came from your childhood. If no one respected your space growing up, it's hard to ask people to respect it now. So examine the boundaries of your childhood and compare them to the boundaries of today. What's lacking? What needs work? It might be that some of the things you find make boundary setting particularly difficult in some situations. Don't be afraid to ask for help, either with a counselor or a therapist or somebody that is trained in that, to work through some of that old baggage. It's always worth looking into. Next very important thing is to take care of yourself. I've said this before, and when I've spoken about kindness and other things, that it's really an important thing. When you're not feeling well, it's nearly impossible to be firm in your boundaries. Being strong and healthy gives you the energy needed to put your foot down when you need to. So bearing that in mind, taking care of yourself not only makes sense, but it's also necessary for future success. Remember the basics, eat healthily. That is something that I am personally making quite a strong attempt to do this year. From the beginning of the year, my husband and I have both tried to stop buying snacks and have some fruit or something like that instead of crisps and etc. Exercise, this is something I personally have difficulty with for various reasons, both arthritic pains and things that make exercise difficult, and laziness, and get enough sleep every night. So another thing is speak up. There's going to be some pushback when you set boundaries. Having healthy boundaries means that you put the work in to maintain them. That means saying no when you need to. Oh my goodness, saying no can be difficult. By being assertive, you not only protect those boundaries, but you also tell the world that you have something to say. Need help? Try and get the support team who can cheer you on when you're flagging. Who could that be? People that aren't afraid to point out when you're starting to slip. Sometimes we all need some tough love, especially when we're pushing for better, healthier boundaries. So like your hubby, your oldest daughter, your son, your sister, your brother, something like that. Somebody that's not nasty. So I just wanted to chat about the thought of setting boundaries, and by trying to put into place some of these steps, you're not only drawing a line in the sand, you're taking control of your life. Healthy boundaries are meant to protect you so that you have room to grow and to become the person you always knew you could be. But first you have to begin. So let's start now. So that's the end of my kind of serious chatting that I wanted to do. I'm now going to put on a little bit of music that I played myself and composed is too strong a word. I was searching for the word, just playing around with chords and making up stuff as I went. I never wrote anything down. I just played it and recorded it on our piano. So it's a home recording, and I hope that you enjoy it. Okie dokie. Well, that was that. Not the world's best composition, but I had great fun. I was just improvising away with chords. I quite like doing that. I like sort of writing out some chords and then just playing. I've cancelled my Epidemic Sound subscription for a month or two. Christmas took its toll, so hence the homemade music track for you. But at least you're getting more of me. I decided to do glitter pen for these butterflies, and then didn't have a brown glitter, and I didn't have a hot pink glitter, so that's just normal Jelly Roll, and then I used the Ohuhu markers for the brown body of the butterfly. So looking at this picture, it's kind of quite an interesting color palette. I like the background of the window. I like the flowers and the yellow and the butterfly, I suppose, with the blues. I'm not entirely sure that I like the brown sort of surround, and I think I definitely don't really like the background stonework or whatever that would be. If this was in a church window, I suppose that would be stonework. I don't know if I chose the wrong markers for the colors that they gave, or if it's just not to my taste, but anyway, that's my opinion. Do any of you guys have this book? Have any of you got this far in the video? If you have, drop me a little line and say own composition or own improvisation, rather. Maybe use improvisation as the secret word to show that you got this far in watching the video. I suspect a lot of people just watch a little bit at the beginning. I kind of like sometimes doing these chatty videos and feel like it's a nice place to actually say things that mean something to me, that are perhaps a little bit deeper than just colors, and possibly that's not to everyone's taste. If so, I hope I've not offended anybody, but I just felt like having my say. So, I hope that you enjoy your colouring that's coming up, and that you are going to have a lovely rest of the week. I'm very into doing watercolors at the moment, so my next video is going to be using eyeshadow in adult coloring books, and then I don't know if I'll do another watercolor picture because I'm trying to do this class on Skillshare, so I'm sort of following somebody else's lesson all the time, and it's probably not fair of me to share too much of that on my YouTube channel, but maybe I can take some of the lessons learned from her and make my own painting using the techniques, because I'm so enjoying them. I really, in my last video, I put a link to the Skillshare classes, and I really would suggest that you, if you do sign up on Skillshare, that you maybe look into some of Zanina Nabil's classes. I really enjoy them. But I think this butterfly is just about done, and I think I'm going to be able to say goodbye and thank you very, very much for watching, and thank you very, very much for spending time with me, and thank you very much for the comments that I hope you're going to leave, because I do love the community interaction. Have a wonderful week.